It was a quiet Sunday in June 1998. Emily Sanders, 27, told her parents she was going for a short drive to clear her head. She never came back at first. People thought she had run away. Then rumors spread. Maybe she was kidnapped. Or worse. But with no car, no signs of struggle, and no body, police were stuck. For 12 years, Emily's case sat cold. Her family moved on, sort of. They kept the room untouched. Her father checked the local roads every weekend. Just in case. Then, one day in 2010, a man was clearing out an old locked barn on a remote farm. When he pried open the doors, he froze. There was a car inside, dusty, sealed in. And inside was something no one was prepared to find. It was Sunday, June 7th, 1998. Emily Sanders, 27 years old, was sitting quietly in the kitchen. She had just broken up with her boyfriend 2 days earlier. No yelling, no drama. It just ended. Her mom was folding laundry nearby. Emily stood up, grabbed her purse and car keys, and said, "I'm just going for a drive. I need some air." It was warm outside, not too hot. A calm day, nothing unusual. Emily gave her mom a small smile before walking out the door. She got into her blue 1993 Honda Civic and pulled out of the driveway. No one followed her. No one saw where she was going. She didn't pack anything. No suitcase. No makeup bag. Just her purse. She didn't leave a note. She didn't say goodbye like it was something final. Her parents thought she'd be back in an hour. They didn't know this would be the last time they'd ever see her alive. An hour passed. Then 2. Then 4. Emily's mom began to worry. She called her daughter's cell phone, but there was no answer. It rang and rang, then went to voicemail. Her dad went outside and looked down the road. Nothing. Her blue car was still gone. By 10 p.m., the panic kicked in. Her parents called the local police and said, "Our daughter left for a short drive. She never came back." The officer on the phone didn't sound too alarmed. "She's an adult," he said. "She probably just needed some space." But her mom knew something was wrong. Emily didn't just disappear. She always checked in. She wasn't wild. She wasn't reckless. She was careful. She was quiet. And now, she was gone. The next morning, police started calling nearby hospitals. Nothing. No accidents. No Jane Does. No emergency room visits. Officers pulled security footage from gas stations, traffic lights, and highway toll booths near Emily's neighborhood. They were looking for a blue Honda Civic. Nothing. They checked the ATM machines to see if she had taken out cash. Her debit card hadn't been used since the day before. Her phone wasn't pinging. It wasn't turned off. It was just gone. No calls. No texts. No GPS signal. Volunteers began driving through back roads and wooded trails. They searched rivers and ditches, hoping to spot tire marks or broken branches. Nothing looked out of place. It was like the moment Emily turned the corner out of her neighborhood, she vanished. Her name and photo were added to the state's missing persons database. Police were stumped. She hadn't left a digital trail. Not even a mistake. Not even a blip. It was as if she had been erased. Back at the house, Emily's mom sat on the couch, crying. Her father stood in the living room, arms crossed, voice shaking. He told the detective she wouldn't do this. She's not the type to run off. Friends came over to help. One of them said Emily had been sad about the breakup, but nothing serious. She wasn't falling apart, the friend said. She was dealing with it. The last person to see Emily was their neighbor, Mr. Keller. He had been watering his front lawn when he saw her car drive past. He waved. She waved back. That was it. No screaming. No speeding. No one following her. Just a wave. And then, silence. By the morning of day 3, everything had changed. What started as a quiet missing person report now felt like something much bigger. Emily's face was on every telephone pole, stop sign, and gas station window. Her parents stood by the front door, watching as police cars and search teams lined the street. Volunteers came with flashlights, maps, and water bottles. Some were neighbors. Others had never even met Emily, but they showed up anyway. Search dogs were brought in. Trained to follow scent, they were given one of Emily's jackets from her bedroom. The dogs sniffed it, then wandered around, confused. No trail, no direction. Helicopters circled overhead, scanning miles of forest, farmland, and empty backroads. The news called it one of the largest searches in county history. And still dashed nothing. No tire marks, no broken branches, no pieces of clothing, no purse, no cell phone. The roads were dry. The weather was clear. She didn't slip off the edge or crash into a lake. It was like she had driven into a black hole. One local paper printed the headline, "Young woman vanishes without a trace." And no one had any answers. That night, the Sanders home went completely. Still no lights, no talking. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of the floorboards. Emily's mom didn't eat dinner. She just sat on the couch, clutching a pillow. Her dad walked to the front porch, stood under the porch light, and stared out at the road. He had done the same thing the night Emily left. Back then, he was waiting to see her headlights coming home. Now, he was starting to realize he might never see them again. Her bedroom upstairs remained untouched. The door stayed open. Her shoes were lined up near the wall. Her bed was made. The teddy bear she'd had since childhood sat neatly on the pillow. Her cell phone charger was still plugged in by the nightstand. Waiting. Her car keys were gone. Her purse was gone. But everything else looked exactly the same. The only thing missing was her at 3 a.m. Emily's mom whispered from the hallway. Maybe she just wanted to disappear. Her dad didn't respond. Outside, the sky was black. No cars. No wind. Just silence. And inside that house, it felt like time had stopped. Police brought Emily's ex-boyfriend, Ryan, into the station. They sat him down in a small interview room. A camera was rolling. The red light blinked in the corner. Ryan looked calm. No shaking, no sweating. He answered every question. He said they had broken up 2 days before Emily went missing. It was peaceful, he told the detective. No fight, no yelling. We both agreed it wasn't working. He said they hadn't talked since. He said he was home all day on June 7th, playing video games with friends. He gave names and times. Police checked. His friends backed him up. Game. Log showed he was online. Cell phone pings placed him at home. Still, detectives weren't convinced. Something about his answers felt too smooth. Too easy. They searched his car, his house, his computer. Nothing. No strange searches. No hidden texts. No signs of violence. Ryan said he loved Emily once, but he didn't know where she went. I wish I did, he said. In the end, police had nothing to hold him on. They let him go, but in the back of their minds, they couldn't shake a question. What if he was just very, very good at hiding something? Next, officers pulled video from traffic cams and toll booths. They looked at every road leading out of Emily's neighborhood. They watched hours of grainy footage, cars driving past, headlights in the dark. But Emily's blue Honda Civic never showed up. They checked gas station cameras. Nothing. They checked ATM, security footage. Nothing. They checked traffic signals 2, 5, even 10 miles out. Still, nothing. It was like she vanished the second she turned that corner. No crash. No struggle. No one following her. Just gone. They traced her phone again, hoping for a ping, even a glitch. But the phone had either been turned off or destroyed. Detectives even tried to track purchases, just in case she stopped somewhere. Her debit card. Never used. Her credit card. Still in her wallet, wherever that was. There was no digital trail. No financial trail. No road trail. One detective said quietly in the office. It's like she drove into a hole in the earth. The rest of the room went silent. They were used to tough cases. But this felt different. This didn't feel like someone hiding. It felt like someone had been taken, fast, clean, and without leaving a single clue. With no sign of her car on land, police turned to water. They brought in dive teams to search the nearby rivers and lakes. Boats scanned every inch. Sonar equipment mapped the bottoms. Nothing. They even used cadaver dogs, trained to smell human remains underwater. The dogs sniffed the air from boats and docks. Still, nothing. Locals whispered theories. Maybe she fell asleep at the wheel. Maybe her car skidded off a bridge. Maybe she was at the bottom of a lake. But the divers found no broken guardrails, no disturbed soil, no fresh tire tracks. Every place they checked came up clean. Day after day, they kept going. But by the end of the second week, the water searches were scaled back. No bubbles. No wreckage. No trace. It was like whatever happened to Emily didn't happen in the open. It happened somewhere no one could see. Word spread fast. Emily's face was everywhere. Store windows, church bulletin boards, gas stations. The town turned into a giant search grid. Flyers hung from telephone poles like silent warnings. People held candles at night and prayed out loud. But behind those prayers was fear. If someone like Emily could vanish in broad daylight, what did that mean for the rest of them? Parents kept their kids inside. Joggers changed their routes. Teens stopped driving at night. No one said it out loud. But everyone thought the same thing. There might be someone out there. Watching. Waiting. The sheriff's office held a town meeting. Officers stood at the front with maps, promising they were doing everything they could. But when people looked into their eyes, they saw it. Confusion. Doubt. And maybe even fear. Because this wasn't just a missing person case anymore. It was a mystery no one could explain. And the longer it dragged on, the more people began to wonder if they were living next to someone hiding a secret. After weeks of silence, Emily's parents did the one thing they hadn't yet tried. They went on television. The interview aired on a local news station, dimly lit studio, soft piano music under the reporter's voice. Emily's father sat stiffly, hands clasped. Her mother trembled beside him, eyes red and hollow. "If you have her," she begged, voice cracking, "please, just bring her back." The clip spread across Facebook, YouTube, even the local radio. People cried watching it. But as the days passed, no calls, no tips, no movement. The clip faded from the news cycle. And Emily was still gone. The FBI arrived 1 month in. They suspected interstate abduction, maybe human trafficking, maybe something worse. They combed through cell phone towers in neighboring states, interviewed truckers, motel clerks, ex-cons. They reviewed license plate readers on highways, hundreds of miles away. But the results were always the same. Nothing. No ransom note. No strange phone activity. No sign Emily had crossed any border. Eventually, the agents packed up. "We'll keep the file open," they said. But everyone knew what that meant. The FBI walked away. And for the first time, so did Hope. 6 months later, the investigation went quiet. No press conferences. No flyers. No search parties. The case was unofficially cold. Emily's mother stopped leaving the house. She kept the porch light on every single night, just in case. Her father did the opposite. Every Sunday, he drove, for hours. Dirt roads, riverbanks, abandoned barns. Sometimes he brought a flashlight. Sometimes just a picture of Emily. He never told anyone where he went, and no matter how many times he came home empty-handed, he went back out the next weekend, because deep down, he believed. Somewhere, Emily was still waiting to be found. Years passed, but Emily's name never really went away. Her face stayed on missing posters, taped to gas station windows, and nailed to telephone poles. The pictures turned pale from the sun. Some got torn by rain, but people didn't take them down. Even after 10 years, you could still see her smile on a faded sheet of paper at the back of a diner door. Kids who grew up hearing her story talked about her like a ghost. Parents used her name as a warning. Don't go out alone. Remember what happened to that girl. In her town, people would lower their voices whenever they mentioned her name. Not because they forgot, but because they didn't know what to believe. Emily became more than a missing girl. She became a mystery no one could solve, but no one could forget either. Every year on the day she vanished, her family left flowers at the edge of the road. Even people who never met her left cards or candles, because after so many years with no answers, it didn't feel like a case anymore. It felt like a wound, and the town could never stop picking at the scar. Not everyone believed Emily was taken. Some thought she just left at schoolyards, gas stations, even church steps. People whispered. Maybe she ran away. Maybe she didn't want to be found. Some said she'd always been quiet. Some claimed they saw her driving weeks later in another state. One rumor said she was in Canada. A few people even said she planned the whole thing, that she faked her own disappearance to start a new life far away. None of it was ever proven. But in small towns, rumors stick. And for a while, the whispers hurt more than the silence. Her parents hated hearing those lies, but they heard them anyway, in grocery store lines, in church pews, at gas stations. Because in a case with no answers, people start making up their own. Then came the cult rumor. It started online, some random message board. A guy with no name posted, "I saw her, a girl who looked just like Emily, at a compound in the desert. They take girls. No one leaves." He never said which state. No photos, no proof, but it spread fast. Podcasts picked it up. People started connecting dots that weren't even there. Some said there had been vans near Emily's town that year. Others pointed to similar disappearances in nearby counties. A few even tried to find a compound using Google Earth. Nothing ever came from it. No arrests. No searches. No follow-up. But still, the theory stayed alive for years, because people would rather believe something wild than nothing at all. And in this case, nothing was all they had. Years after Emily disappeared, a new group took interest. The internet. Early Reddit threads. True crime forums. Blogs with black backgrounds and bold red text. Strangers who had never met Emily, never even been to her town, started digging deep. They shared maps of the area, timeline charts, cell phone theories. One thread broke down her last outfit, piece by piece, trying to find meaning in her shoes or the bracelet she wore. Some users became obsessed. One thread had 7,000 comments, all guessing what happened. One group blamed her ex-boyfriend. Another blamed a long-haul trucker who passed through town once a month. A third believed the neighbor watering plants saw more than he said. They circled back to the cult theory. They questioned the police. Some even pointed fingers at Emily's father. It became a game. But to Emily's family, it wasn't a mystery to solve online. It was their life. And every wild theory felt like another knife in the heart. The older Emily's younger brother got, the angrier he became. By the time he reached high school, he didn't talk about her much, but everyone around him knew. If a teacher mentioned her name in class, his jaw would clench. If someone whispered about the case, he'd walk away. Once, a classmate made a joke about the girl who disappeared. Her brother slammed him into a locker. He didn't get suspended. No one reported it. Everyone knew why it happened. At home, he kept a shoebox under his bed filled with her things: a hairbrush, a dried-out lip balm, a movie ticket stub with a date scribbled on the back, the last one they saw together. He said he held on to it just in case. But what he really held was rage. He believed the cops gave up too soon, that the community forgot too fast, that the people who made podcasts about her were just using her name for clicks. She was a person, he once snapped, not some story. And deep down, he thought if she ever did come back, it wouldn't be because of the police. It would be because someone in their family refused to stop being angry. Every year on June 7th, the day Emily vanished, her parents lit candles. The first vigil, in 1998, filled the entire churchyard. Neighbors, classmates, local reporters. The crowd held hands and prayed. People cried. By the fifth year, it was just a small group, mostly family, close friends, and a few people from church. By the 10th year, it was just Emily's parents. Her mother always held the same framed photo, Emily in her school uniform, smiling nervously. She didn't speak. She just stood there, quiet. Still. Her father never looked at the crowd. He always stared down the same road she was last seen driving on. Like he was still waiting for her car to appear over the hill. Some years, the wind would blow the candles out early. But they lit them again anyway, because as long as there was fire, there was still a flicker of hope. Emily's blue 1994 Honda Civic was listed in every national database. The license plate, VIN number, scratch on the back bumper. Police sent alerts to junkyards, impound lots, used car dealerships, even out of state. Auction houses. Every few months, her dad would call the DMV to check. But year after year, nothing. No confirmed sightings. No matching wrecks. No reports of it being abandoned. It was like her car had been erased from the world. Detectives said it was rare, but not impossible. Cars got stripped, dumped, sunk, especially in rural places with lakes, rivers, and old mine shafts. But Emily's car? It became a symbol. Not just of what was lost, but what had never been found. Because if that car ever showed up in a garage, a swamp, a barn, anywhere, it might finally lead to something. But it never did. And every empty search felt like her vanishing all over again. In a quiet corner of rural Maryland, a man named Kyle Thompson bought a small farmhouse. The house was old and falling apart. It had been sitting empty for almost 20 years. But the land was cheap, and Kyle liked the quiet. Behind the house was a big wooden barn. It stood far from the road. The roof sagged. The doors were chained shut with a thick, rusted padlock. Real estate agents said, "No one's used that thing in decades." Kyle didn't think much of it. He just wanted a place to live, maybe grow a garden. He figured he'd deal with the barn later. He moved in on a Sunday. That first week, he started cleaning up trash around the yard. Old tires, broken glass, rusted farm tools. But every time he looked at the barn, he felt strange. Like something. Inside it was waiting. And one morning, he decided to open it. The barn was locked tight. Kyle grabbed his bolt cutters, walked across the tall grass, and snapped the padlock in one quick move. The chain clattered to the ground. He pulled open the heavy doors. Inside, it smelled like dust and oil. The air was thick. There were cobwebs everywhere. A few broken chairs, rotted wooden crates, old gardening tools. He walked carefully, pushing past shelves and crates. That's when he noticed a large shape under a gray tarp. It didn't look like farm equipment. Kyle pulled the tarp back slowly. It was a car, a blue one. The paint was dull and dusty, but it looked almost untouched. The tires were flat. The windshield was fogged over. But there it was, sitting in the dark like it hadn't moved in years. Kyle stepped back. Something about it didn't feel right. The car was out of place. Too clean, too intact. He walked around it once. The license plate was still there, covered in grime. He snapped a photo and texted a friend. "Dude, there's an old car in my barn. Looks like it's been here forever." Then, unsure what else to do, Kyle called the local sheriff's office. Deputies showed up within the hour. They didn't joke. They didn't smile. One of them looked at the car and immediately called it in. Kyle heard him say, "Possible match. Blue 93 Civic." That's when Kyle realized this wasn't just an abandoned car. He watched as the officers circled vehicle, careful not to touch it. One of them leaned close to the window but couldn't see inside. The glass was fogged, stained with dust. They read the VIN number out loud. Dispatch confirmed. The plate and model matched a missing persons report. Emily Sanders. The officer stepped back slowly and said, "Don't touch anything." Kyle stood frozen. He asked, Is someone in there?" The cop didn't answer. He just shook his head. Not a no, not a yes. And for the first time in years, the mystery of Emily's disappearance was no longer a story. It was real. The next morning, crime scene investigators arrived. They surrounded the barn, took photos, laid down evidence markers. Everything moved slowly, careful, precise. Finally, they opened the driver's side door. Inside the car, the air was dry and stale. The seat was covered in a thin layer of dust, but sitting there was the skeleton of a woman. The bones were in place, arms resting near the steering wheel, seatbelt still across her chest. The shoes were on, her hands folded slightly in. Her lap. Next to her, in the passenger seat, was a small black purse. It was old, but still closed. An officer gently opened it. Inside, a faded driver's license. The photo was worn, but the name was clear. Emily Sanders. 12 years after she vanished, she had been found sitting in her car inside a locked barn on someone else's land. But now there were even more questions. Why was the car there? How did it get inside the barn? And most important, why did no one ever find her? There were no signs of injury. No broken glass. No blood. Just a locked barn. And a woman who had been missing for more than a decade. Sitting exactly where she was the whole time. Investigators circled the Honda again and again. Nothing added up. The car was in near perfect shape. No broken windows, no dents, no scratches. The seatbelt was fastened. The gear was in park. The keys were still in the ignition. One tech leaned in and checked the dashboard. The gas tank was still half full. Another looked underneath. No signs of a tow, no dragging, no dirt packed into the tires. It was like the car had been driven in, then left there. Carefully, quietly, they dusted for prints. There weren't any, not even Emily's. The barn floor had a thick layer of dust, except where the car was parked. There were no footsteps leading to or from it. No sign of a struggle. No sign of violence. It looked peaceful. Too peaceful. One officer whispered, "It's like she just drove in and never got out." But that didn't make sense. Emily was missing. For 12 years, no one heard from her. No messages. No sightings. Not a single clue. And now, she was here, in her own car, sealed away. Like someone had locked time in a box. The crime scene wasn't just confusing. It was chilling. They checked the barn structure. No holes in the roof. No signs of weather damage. The place was dry, almost airtight. Whoever stored the car here knew it would last. The tires were low, but not flat. Even the windshield wipers were intact. Someone had taken care to preserve this scene. The padlock on the outside was rusted, but that just meant it hadn't been touched in years. One investigator said, "This wasn't dumped. This was placed carefully, hidden on purpose, but not destroyed. not burned, not crushed. Why? Why keep it hidden? But oh, they looked for tool marks near the barn doors. Nothing. No signs it had been forced. It was locked from the outside. The more they studied, the clearer it became. This was a time capsule. Sealed in 1998. Untouched until now. But the scariest part was this. Someone had the keys to this barn. Someone placed the car inside. Someone walked away and never came back. And for 12 long years, no one noticed. Emily Sanders had been sitting just 100 feet from a road, from houses, from people. And yet, not a single person ever thought to look here. That silence was on purpose. In Pennsylvania, 160 miles away. Emily's parents were in their kitchen when the phone rang. Her father, Paul Sanders, picked it up. It was the sheriff. The voice was calm but firm. "Mr. Sanders, we found your daughter." Paul didn't speak. He dropped the phone onto the counter. It clattered loudly. Emily's mother, Denise, rushed in. "What? What is it?" He couldn't answer. Denise grabbed the phone, listened for a few seconds, and screamed. 12 years. 12 years of hanging up missing posters, holding candlelight vigils, talking to news crews, waking up in the middle of the night hoping the phone would ring. And now, it had, but the news wasn't what they wanted. Emily wasn't alive. She had been dead for over a decade, just hours away. Locked in a barn. They hadn't seen her car. No one had. Even though it matched the posters, the alerts, the flyers. A blue '93 Honda Civic. How had no one noticed? The sheriff said they were still investigating, that it didn't look like an accident, that someone had done this on purpose. Paul sat down and stared out the window. Denise held a photo of Emily to her chest and sobbed. They had their answer now. But none of it made sense. After discovering Emily's body in the barn, police pulled the property records. The barn belongs to a man named Harold Grayson. He bought the land back in the early 1980s. But Harold died in 2009, 3 years after Emily disappeared. Now, the land is owned by his son, Mark Grayson. Detectives drive out to meet Mark at his home. He lives just a few miles from the old barn. He seems calm, almost too calm, as they question him. Mark says he remembers the barn, but claims he hasn't been inside it in over 20 years. "I always thought it was just full of junk," he says. "Never had a reason to go in there." They ask about the lock. Mark shrugs. "It was always locked when I was a kid. I never had the key." The officers jot everything down. But something feels off. Mark inherited the land in 2009. He never sold it. Never cleared it out. Never opened the barn. 12 years had passed since Emily vanished, and Mark never once looked inside the only building on the property he owned. It didn't feel like a coincidence. It felt like a lead. Mark tells police he had nothing to do with the barn. He says he was living out of state when Emily went missing. "I moved to Ohio in '97, he says. Didn't come back until after Dad died. But detectives check public records and find a problem. In 1998, the year Emily vanished, Mark had a listed address in Maryland, just 12 miles from where she was last seen. They also pull his phone records. He had a Maryland number that stayed active through the year 2000. When they confront him, Mark gets defensive. "I was back and forth," he says. Visiting family. Maybe I forgot about the dates." But the records don't lie. Credit card charges show gas stations, the diners and grocery stores all in the same town Emily worked in. So either Mark is lying or he's hiding something. Detectives double-check the deed again. It shows the barn and the land were never rented out. No one else had access. No one else was responsible for it. If someone had hidden Emily's car in there, it would have taken keys, time, and privacy, and only one person had all three. Mark Grayson. as detectives dig deeper into Mark's past. A pattern starts to appear. In 1996, 2 years before Emily vanished, Mark was arrested for a DUI. He was pulled over late at night, just a few blocks from a local college campus. The officer noted that Mark appeared agitated and refused to answer basic questions. The next year, 1997, things got worse. A woman named Kara Jenkins filed a restraining order against him. In her report, she wrote, "He followed me home. He parked outside for hours. I told him to leave me alone, but he wouldn't." Kara had worked at a grocery store, one that was just down the street from where Emily worked. Back then, nothing connected Mark to a major crime. No charges stuck. No jail time. But now, looking at the full picture, it all feels different. 2 years before Emily disappeared, Mark had already shown disturbing behavior. He followed women, pressured them, waited outside their homes, and no one did anything. Now, detectives start to wonder, what if Emily wasn't random? What if Mark saw her, targeted her, followed her? This wasn't just a man with a strange past. This was a man with a history of control. Detectives retrace Emily's steps from the summer of 1998. At the time, she worked part-time at Mel's Diner, a small place off Route 22. Locals remembered her. Friendly, polite, always smiling. She worked the morning shifts and sometimes closed on Sundays. They check old receipts, booth seating charts, tips logs. Then they find a possible clue. Mark Grayson's credit card had been used at Mel's Diner multiple times that same summer. They pull out a photo lineup and talk to a woman who used to wait tables with Emily. Her name is Michelle. She remembers Mark immediately. He was weird, she says. Didn't talk much, just stared. Always asked for the same booth. Always came in when Emily worked. Michelle remembers one moment clearly. One night, Emily said something like, "That guy gives me the creeps." She didn't want to serve him, but we were short-staffed. She had to. Emily had never reported anything, but she had noticed him. It wasn't proof, but it was something. They show Michelle a recent photo of Mark. She nods. That's him. He always sat near the window. Tip was big, but his stare was worse. Emily and Mark had crossed paths, and now everything was pointing back to him. When the story hits the news, it spreads fast. Reporters show up outside the Grayson property. Helicopters fly overhead. Photos of Emily as a teenager flash across every screen, but no one is louder than her father. Standing on his front porch in Pennsylvania, he holds up a photo of his daughter and stares directly into the camera. "If this man touched my daughter," he says, voice shaking, "I want the world to know. I want people to remember her name." He doesn't cry. He burns. Emily's mother, too shaken to speak, sits just behind him, holding the folded American flag from Emily's funeral. Within hours, neighbors are protesting outside Mark Grayson's home. Handmade signs, yelling, camera crews. Mark doesn't come outside. He just watches from behind the curtains. But pressure is building from the police, the town, the media. And now, from a father who won't rest until someone answers for what happened to his little girl. Police bring Mark in again. This time, the mood is different. The room is cold. The detective sits still, letting silence do the work. Mark looks tired. He doesn't ask for a lawyer. He finally admits that yes, he had visited the farm in 1998. A few times, he says, to check on my dad's property. But when asked about Emily, his story hardens. "I didn't know her," he says flatly. "Never met her. Never saw her." Detectives push back. What about the diner? The receipts? The waitress who remembers him staring? He shrugs. Coincidence. They ask about the restraining order, the DUI, the inconsistencies in his timeline. "I've made mistakes," he says. But not that. Still no confession, no emotion, no explanation, but something in his tone feels rehearsed. Like he's practiced it. The truth isn't coming easily, so the detectives decide it's time to dig deeper, with a warrant. Detectives head to the old diner where Emily worked in 1998. It's still there. Same neon sign, same booths. A few original employees still work mornings. They show a photo of Mark Grayson. Right away, one of the waitresses nods. Oh yeah, she says. He used to come in all the time. She remembers his truck, how he parked way in the back, how he'd come in and just stare. He always asked to sit in Emily's section, another woman adds. They thought it was weird, but not dangerous. He was quiet, paid in cash, tipped just enough. But now, looking back, they say it made sense why Emily always seemed uncomfortable. When he showed up, she said he creeped her out, one waitress remembers. She'd ask us to trade tables sometimes. Said his eyes never left her. The detectives thank them and leave. But now they're thinking, this wasn't random. This man knew Emily. He was watching her. One of Emily's old co-workers calls the detective later that day. Her voice shakes. She says something's been bothering her for years. Back in '98, Emily came in early for her shift one morning, upset. She said, that guy keeps showing up, even when I switch shifts. The woman didn't understand it at the time. She thought Emily was overthinking. Maybe the guy just liked the food. Or the coffee, but now it sounds like stalking. Emily had even changed her schedule more than once. She started working different hours. Told friends she didn't feel safe walking to her car alone at night anymore. The coworker remembers once offering to walk her out, but Emily said, "No, I'm fine." He hasn't said anything, just looks. And that's the part that stuck. He never said anything, never touched her, but he kept showing up. Again and again, even when she tried to avoid him. Now the team realizes Mark may have been following her long before she disappeared. Back at the station, one of the younger detectives starts rereading every old report. He's going line by line. And then, buried in a 1998 interview, he finds it. A single paragraph that no one ever followed up on. It's a witness statement. Taken just 2 days after Emily vanished. The man had stopped at a remote gas station just off Route 22. He said he saw a young woman in a blue car, possibly a Honda, parked near the air pump. Next to her was a man, tall, mid-30s, wearing a cap. The two were arguing. He couldn't hear the words, but their body language was aggressive. The man kept stepping toward her. The woman stepped back. The witness said it made him uncomfortable, but he didn't think it was serious. By the time he came back outside, both cars were gone. The report was marked, no follow-up, no license plate. That was it. 12 years ago, it was just another vague tip. But now, the timeline matches. The location is near where Emily would have been driving, and just a short drive from Mark Grayson's old address. The detective highlights the paragraph and brings it to his supervisor. "We need to talk to that man again," he says. The witness agrees to meet. He's older now, retired. But when they show him photos, he doesn't hesitate. "That's the truck," he says. "That's the same one the man was driving. It's a 1990 Ford F-150, dark green, dent in the side panel. Same as the one Mark Grayson used to own." He stares at a photo of Mark from the 90s. Then he nods. "I think that's him. That looks like the guy." The detectives press for more. "Was he sure? As sure as I can be?" he says. "It was quick. But that truck, I remember the truck. Records show that Mark sold the vehicle in 2001. It was never searched. Never. Entered into evidence. And now, it's likely gone for good. Still, this changes everything. It places Mark at the last known sighting of Emily. It puts them together. And now, police finally have something they never had before. A living witness. After the witness confirms seeing Mark's truck near the blue Honda, detectives go back to Emily's car. This time, forensics take another look. Deeper, slower. They pull up the carpet beneath the driver's seat. Tucked down in the padding, almost invisible, are a few strands of fabric. Worn gray-brown and dusty. They bag them, label them, and send them to the state crime lab. 2 weeks later, the results come back. The fibers are synthetic, industrial. Used in old-style rugs, not in car upholstery. That catches their attention. They compare it to the items found in the Grayson family barn. Inside that barn, police had collected 3 rolled-up rugs during the initial search. Lab results now confirm the fibers from Emily's car and the ones in the barn rugs are nearly identical. Same material, same weave, same blend of nylon and plastic. It's not a perfect match. The science can't say the strands came from the exact same rug, but it's close enough to raise serious questions. Because that barn is the only place they found rugs like that. And somehow, pieces of those same rugs ended up buried deep in the floor of Emily's abandoned car, with the fiber evidence added to the gas station sighting and the diner connection. Detectives go straight to Mark Grayson's house. They knock. He opens the door. He already knows why they're there. They sit him down and lay everything out. The waitress who remembered him always sitting in Emily's section. The co-worker who said Emily felt stalked. The gas station witness who ID'd his truck. The rug fibers found in Emily's car. Mark doesn't say a word. He just stares at the table. His lawyer, sitting beside him, speaks first. "No more questions," she says firmly. "My client will not be answering." The detectives expected that, but what they didn't expect was the look on Mark's face. He's not angry. He's not confused. He looks trapped, cornered, and under pressure. He signs a form refusing to talk. But even in silence, something shifts. Because now, for the first time, the story is lining up. And everyone knows it, especially Mark. A week later, detectives move in. They arrest Mark Grayson on charges of obstruction of justice and possible involvement in the disappearance and death of Emily Sanders. He doesn't fight it. He goes quietly. News crews are waiting outside. Cameras flash. Reporters shout questions. Mark says nothing. Inside the station, they book him and take his fingerprints. He's placed in a holding cell. His lawyer stands by his side. He's charged, but not with murder, because there's still no body. No confession, and no direct proof that Emily is dead. Still, it's the most progress the case has seen in 12 years. Detectives hold a press conference. They say the evidence is strong, that new leads are still coming in, that they believe Mark Grayson holds the key to what happened that day in 1998. Emily's parents attend the press conference. Her mother breaks down when she sees Mark on the screen. Her father clenches his jaw, staring at the floor. They've waited over a decade for this moment. It's not justice. Not yet, but it's something. Emily's name is on every news channel again. People are finally paying attention. For the first time, it feels like the truth is within reach. But there's still one thing no one has: answers. And Mark isn't talking. Not yet. 12 years after Emily disappeared, the case ends without a trial. Mark Grayson agrees to a deal. He pleads guilty to kidnapping and unlawful disposal of a body. In exchange, the murder charge is dropped. There's no courtroom showdown, no cross-examinations, no chance for the family to hear what really happened. The deal gives Mark 20 years in prison. He signs the papers, stands in front of the judge, and says only one thing: guilty. That's it. No answers. No explanation. Just silence. Detectives are frustrated. They were hoping to push Mark into talking, maybe even confessing. But now, that chance is gone. The plea means the case is closed. Mark goes to prison. He'll be in his 60s when he gets out. For the legal system, it's a win. For the family, it doesn't feel like justice. There's still no body. No clear story. No real closure. The court documents are sealed. The DA says they made the deal to avoid risking a full trial with no confession and no murder weapon. It's over. Legally. But to Emily's parents, it doesn't feel over at all. Because Mark Grayson knows the truth, and he's taking it with him. The courtroom is quiet as the sentence is read out loud. Emily's mother sobs. Her hands shake. Her father stares straight ahead, jaw tight, holding her hand. Mark doesn't look at them. He never even turns his head. The judge thanks the family for their strength. Then he says the words that officially close the case. 20 years. No parole. Emily's father speaks to the press outside. His voice is calm but heavy. We don't know what happened in that barn, he says. We don't know how she died, or when, or why. That's the part that hurts the most. Reporters ask if the family feels justice was served. He shakes his head. We'll never know what really happened. That's what we live with. Emily's mother doesn't speak at all. She holds a photo of her daughter, one taken just weeks before she disappeared. In it, Emily is smiling, leaning against her car. That's the version they hold on to. That's what they have left. A smile. Picture, and a long list of unanswered questions. 12 years after Emily vanished. The Sanders family finally buries her. Her remains were confirmed by dental records, found deep in the Grayson barn beneath rotted wood and dirt. The funeral takes place on a rainy Thursday. Over 300 people show up. Family, friends, neighbors, and even strangers who followed the case. Emily's casket is draped in a white cloth. A folded American flag sits on top, a nod to her short time working with the local sheriff's department. The service is quiet. Emily's father speaks only a few words. Now we know where she is, he says, standing by the casket. That's something. Her brother, now a grown man, accepts the folded flag and holds it tightly. Her mother doesn't speak. She sits in the front row, quietly crying, a hand on her daughter's picture. There's no music, no slideshow, just silence. Then, one by one, people place white roses on the casket before it's lowered. A local officer plays taps in the distance. It's a small goodbye, but after 12 long years, it's something the family never thought they'd get. Emily is finally home. Not the way they hoped, but at least now, she's not missing. Emily's room hasn't changed since the day she left in 1998. The bed is still made. The calendar still says May 1998. Her backpack is hanging on the door. Her mother walks in sometimes and just sits. She doesn't touch anything. She doesn't say anything. She just sits on the edge of the bed, quietly, like she's waiting. Posters on the wall are faded. Her shoes are still by the closet. A necklace she wore all the time still lies on the dresser. Emily's mother says she doesn't plan to pack it up. It's her room, she says softly. It stays. For her, it's not about holding on. It's about still feeling close. Emily may be gone, but in this room, she's still 17. She's still coming home from work. She's still about to walk through that door. And her mom is still waiting. After the funeral, something changes in the town. The fear that lived here for years slowly fades, replaced by something else. Remembrance. A local artist carves a bench with Emily's name on it. It's placed on the roadside, where her car was last seen, beneath a tree that still leans slightly to one side. It becomes a quiet spot. Some people leave flowers. Others just sit. The high school where Emily once studied starts a new program. Self-defense classes for girls. They call it Emily's Shield. The sheriff's department starts using her story in their new officer orientation. The town council passes a new initiative. Better lighting along the rural backroads. More cameras. Faster response times. Her name is in every meeting. It's on every paper. And for the first time in a long time, Emily's story feels like more than a loss. That it feels like a warning and a push to protect others. Because if it could happen to her, it could happen to anyone. And the town refuses to let it happen again. Years pass, but Emily's face never disappears. Her story spreads beyond the small town. It's featured in true crime podcasts. Her name becomes part of episodes with titles like The Barn That Held Secrets and 12 Years Too Late. YouTubers dig into the case, creating hour-long documentaries. Some are careful, respectful. Others feel like clickbait, but all of them keep her memory alive. Netflix runs a short docuseries called Vanished. Emily's case is episode 3. Her picture, the same one from her mother's wallet, is now seen by millions. Detectives say they use her case in academy training. It teaches young officers what not to miss. The missed witness. The gas station. Report. The rugs. All the red flags that were ignored back then. In a strange way, Emily becomes a teacher. Her story doesn't fade. It moves. It changes people. And though her voice is gone, her story still speaks. Loudly. To girls driving alone. To families who've lost someone. To police departments trying to do better. She didn't get to finish her life, but her story still has work to do. And it's not done yet. But even with all the healing, one fact stays with everyone. The car, that it was always there. 12 years, locked inside that barn. Not buried, not burned, not even moved, just hidden. In plain sight. Less than 2 miles from a state highway. Less than 5 miles from a church where people prayed for her, while the town searched forests and rivers. It sat behind that rusted barn door. It haunts people because it proves something chilling. Sometimes evil doesn't run. It doesn't hide in the shadows. It stays close. Lens in. Waits. Mark Grayson didn't move across the country. He stayed. Lived his life. Shopped in local stores. Drove past missing posters with Emily's face. And every time he passed that barn, he knew. He knew exactly where she was, and no one else did. That truth shakes the community the most, because monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look like your neighbor. Sometimes they sit in the diner, they wave when you drive by. And they keep secrets just out of sight. That's what makes Emily's story unforgettable. Not just the tragedy, but the terrifying reminder that evil doesn't always disappear. Sometimes it parks in a barn. And waits.